Hello, 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 hello.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. This is your girl Michelle with Girls Talk Real Talk. And as you can see, I have the one and the only Tina Cosby with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's good to be here, Michelle. Thank you.
No problem. I was excited to have you here. And one of the reasons I was excited that we were able to get the schedules to match up is because I've watched your career. And I don't know if you remember or not, but I remember when you were on the news station and you actually came over to Dress for Success for an event or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a part of the professional women's group, and we had an opportunity to meet you then. And it was like, you know, when you see people on TV, you think they're bigger than life individuals and all of that. And so we were just all in awe because you were the same. There was no difference between what we saw on the news and when you were out in the community to what we saw when you came.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's good to know. That's good to know. I only know how to be me. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you for that memory. I do vaguely remember that. I wish I could remember it more. And sometimes, you know, the longer you talk and the longer you go on, you know, the memory starts becoming more clear or whatever. But I do remember Dress for Success. I do remember that. I remember it.
So I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to our audience.
Okay. Well, my name is Tina Cosby, and currently I am the host of Community Connection on WTLC AM 92.7 FM and 95.1 FM, The Light. It's exciting because my entire career, the majority of my career, I'd say 99% of my career in broadcasting has been in television. So this is my first ever radio job. So I like to consider it it's another chapter, and I'm excited about the another chapter that I have, the second chapter. I'm enjoying what I do, and I've got a lot of years behind me, and hopefully a lot more in front of me. So one of my least favorite things, I'd rather be where you are, Michelle, sitting asking. One of my least favorite things is to talk about myself. So, but you got me out, and I'm gonna give it the old college try. I'm gonna give it a try. So, I just don't. I don't know. It's just really. I'm sure you've heard other people say that before, that they're not really comfortable talking about themselves.
Well, surprisingly enough, I fit in that category. I'm much better being the person that is kind of behind the scenes doing the work.
Yeah.
So I can relate. I can relate.
Yeah.
So your journey to Radio One was an interesting one. You filled some very big shoes in taking over the afternoon talk show, because why don't you talk about that a little bit? How did it come about, and how did you prepare yourself to step into that role?
Wow. Okay. You're talking about the passing of Amos Brown in the fall of 2015, and in 2017, I guess the journey toward Radio One started in 2017 when a new company bought Wish TV, a whole new company bought Wish TV. And they purged a number of departments, a number of non-revenue generating departments, which of course was mine, because at the time I was community affairs director. So spent a little time just doing different things, trying to find where I wanted to go. I didn't know if I wanted to stay in broadcasting, leave broadcasting, just, doing a lot of stuff. I did substitute teaching. I did some freelance, of course, for some friends of mine who just kept dragging me back into TV, and just a number of things. And quite frankly, I did not. I mean, maybe a year or so before, I had seen some things on Radio One's Help Wanted ads and in broadcasting, and that, things that you do see. And I sent my resume in, but no one called or anything, and so I had just completely forgotten about it. Actually, it was probably probably in 17 or late 17 or early 18. But anyway, and it's interesting because, I'm not Amos's immediate replacement, because Amos passed in 2015. I didn't take that job until 2019. Okay, May of 2019. So there were a number of very good people who sat there more immediately after Amos than I did. But I do understand your question and your point, because that's a very important time slot in the community, and he himself made it a very high profile time slot. And so in terms of preparing for it, I didn't, the one thing I did say and tell, the powers that be is I'm not Amos, and I can't be. And if you're looking for another Amos, I'm just not it. And they're like, we're looking for somebody who can do the show and can do the show well. We're not looking for anybody to be Amos or to fill Amos's shoes. You do your thing. And, that right off the bat, I was immediately put at ease. And the expectations were not that I would be another Amos. You couldn't be. Right. There's no way to be another Amos Brown. And the rest is it. So I spent a few months feeling out the show, feeling out how to do it. And again, we get back to what I said a little bit ago. I never worked in radio. And yes, there are a lot of transferable skills in terms of broadcasting, but radio and television are two completely different cultures, completely different worlds. And so to a large extent, I'm still learning. So I kind of did a lot of on-the-job learning and on-the-job training, and it has been absolutely wonderful. The other thing is, I'd always wanted to work in radio. My career just never took me there because and in fact, there's some other things that I've just put it on hold for right now. I'm still doing a little television for a friend of mine over at Wish, Patty Spittler. She has a couple of shows, and so she likes to have her contributors, and come on back. And so I said, okay. But we put all that on hold. COVID has done had its way in terms of that. But to get back to it, I think if I'd have thought too much of it, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it. I may have been overwhelmed and just intimidated and all kinds of things. And so I just focused on the task at hand, which is getting on the air on time and getting off on time and having people to talk to. So when you start with the basics, then you can go from there. And Amos's show was a personality-focused, very much personality-centered show. And that is not what Community Connection is. Community Connection with me, with Tina Cosby, is a collaborative show. I like collaboration. I like having people around me that know more than I do, because I can learn, so we're learning as we go. And it's just really interesting. Amos was able to create the magic he created because Amos is brilliant, genius level in so many. I mean, his command of numbers, his memory of people, places, things, all kinds of things. That's what made him unique, and that's what made that time slot very unique. But his way of serving the community was his way, and my way of serving the community in a more collaborative way is another way. And so far, it seems like, they haven't asked me to leave yet, so I think well, so far it seems to be going well. So that's long answer to a short question, but.
Well, yeah, I have had the opportunity. Normally I'm working throughout the day, so I don't always get to catch the show, but I have had an opportunity to catch it from time to time. And recently you had Denola Burton on there.
Yes, Denola, yeah.
She is my publisher. The last book that I published in November, I published it up under her publishing company.
She's into publishing. Now, were you one of the award winners?
No, my book actually came out after that.
Okay.
I do share the same platform with them, but that was for the book that another friend of mine had actually put out. That was a collaboration. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Denola and I first met. We both served on the board. I guess I'm still, even though I'm kind of like on leave. But Stewart Speakers Inc. Mm-hmm. And we're both board members together, and we got to be a very lovely person, very talented. And yes, she was telling me about some of those that she's published, and I was just fascinated with it. And she did a really good job. And again, hats off to those, and congratulations to you. What is your book about, if you don't mind me asking?
The book that she actually published is my first book that I've published, and it's called Desperate Housewives of Biblical Proportions.
Oh, that's a loaded title. Okay. And the synopsis is?
The synopsis is, in that book, we talk about the 7 matriarchs of Genesis and their relationship, whether it was spiritual and or physical, with barrenness, and how their lifestyle and inability to fulfill the lack in their lives turned into generational curses that is still playing out in the Israelites and the Jewish community today.
Wow. You've done some research there.
Yeah. There was a lot.
Yes. Well, congratulations. I'll have to take a look at it, get a copy of it and read that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sounds deep. Sounds really deep.
Danola is such the person that she just kind of comes along and fills in the spaces where you're missing. And that's what I really appreciated about her being my publisher. And I can see how in a lot of what you do the exact same thing. You fill in those missing pieces. You give people an opportunity to be able to share their story where there is a platform that's already been laid out for them to be able to do that. Whereas without you being in that position, that may not be an avenue that they have access to.
Okay.
And so I think a lot of times we don't realize the opportunities that we give people to give a voice to whatever their concern is, or whatever their fight is against, or whatever they're talking about. And so kudos to you. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Thank you so very much. I'm always of the mindset that whoever is my guest is way more interesting than me. So I try to back off and let and just kind of, I look upon my role as maybe there's a ship, or just driving a car and there's passengers in the car. I'm just driving, everybody, or, the ship, or navigating it. I'm just there to make sure, like you said, the pieces come together, and we have a good time with that. We really do. So thank you for that. Yeah, thank you.
So I'm curious, how did your journey into media start?
Oh my goodness. Let's see.
Yes, let's face it. When you came on board, there were not a whole lot of people of our persuasion that was out there.
No, there were not. No, there were not. We called it the 1-for-1 era. When one left, they'd replace you with one. It never occurred to them to have more than one on staff. What an idea. And so I was the one for one. I was in that 1-for-1 era initially. I mean, certainly as time went on, it got a whole lot better. And they realized it was okay to have 2, 3, or even 4, not only women, but African Americans, Hispanic, it's just a thing how we evolve over time. But I never wanted, you know what? I'm always so appreciative of people who say, this is what I wanted to do my entire life, and I'm getting to do it, and I'm living the dream. And broadcasting never once entered my mind, not once. And when I went to, it's so much so that when I enrolled at Indiana University, and when I enrolled pre-med, because I thought I wanted to be a doctor. And I wanted to be a psychiatrist. And so it's funny, as college goes, and people who've been to college and very well know, you have these things called electives, right? And those are just things that are to enhance your collegiate experience and broaden your horizons and expand your mind. Well, I will say that the entire time I was in high school, I was always drawn to writing. I loved writing, loved writing, but I never connected the dots about making that my career. I just always enjoyed the way I like to write. And so one of the electives at IU that was left to me, because I think the other one might have been advanced underwater basket weaving or something like that. I don't know. We had a little saying, but it was one that was left that hadn't been taken. It was called broadcast journalism writing. And I'm like, broadcast journalism writing? It's got writing in it, so I'll do it. So anyway, took the class, loved it. Didn't expect to like it, and the more I got into it, the less I was liking the chemistry and all the other stuff. And so I still wasn't thinking though that I wanted to get into it. I was just saying I enjoyed it, so I took another one. and another one. So anyway, there was I'm going to cut to the chase. There was a professor that was there that told me, he said, you have a flair, you have a thing for this writing. You do. And I said, really? He said, yeah, you do quite well. And he said, I think that you should apply for this internship down in Louisville, Kentucky. And I said, oh, I'm from around that way, because my hometown is Madison, Indiana, which is about 35 miles from Kentucky's on Indiana, right there on the Ohio River Valley, where we sit right in between Cincinnati and Louisville. But anyway, so I grew up watching Louisville TV and Cincinnati TV, and this was at Wave TV, WAVE, the NBC affiliate in Louisville. And he said, yeah, you're right from right that area. I said, but I have no broadcasting experience. I don't even have a tape to send him. And he said, well, let's make a tape. And I'm like, what? He said, sit down and make a tape. And so I sat down and I made a tape. I wrote it, of course, because he said my writing was really good. So I wrote it. And I found the challenge the challenge was, and I guess it might be part of my competitive nature, the challenge was not only writing, it was writing with the clock, writing to the clock. Can you get all these thoughts in order and relevant in a minute or less, or something like that? Can you put all the pieces together? And then can you match pictures with words? So I did all of that. And I said, yeah, right. Because I was going up against kids that had high school demonstration tapes, that had been doing stuff even from junior high. And here I am, never having done anything. So I sent it off and went on about my business and, blah, blah, blah. And so he said, good. And I said, he said, did you apply? I said, yeah, I applied. He said, I'll tell you what. What happened was I got accepted. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. He said, so I talked to him and I said, I can't do this. I said, I just threw this together. I don't have he said, look, Tina, they accepted you. He said, I'll tell you what. He said, you do the internship, and if you come back and say that you don't want to switch your major, I'll personally pay the difference or what have you, but whatever. He said, but I think if you go ahead and do this internship, I know what you're going to do. And I'm like, yeah, you know better than I do. Again, still doubting. It's like, yeah, right. So I accepted it and accepted his offer. And I'm like, what are you going to be paying? You're going to be paying for me to, catch up on the classes that I'm going to be missing. And so I did the internship in Louisville, Kentucky. And I tell you, the rest, as they say, is history. I absolutely fell in love with television, writing, the photography, everything and anything that there was to do. I was asking them, could I do it? And they said I was one of the most inquisitive. I'm naturally inquisitive anyway. And if you ask people around me, they say, she asked too many questions. Just don't ask more questions. Just talk. And so I got to be very good friends with one of the student photographers who was also doing an internship there. And we would have the equipment to submit for broadcast by the time your internship was over. And I think I had like 4 or 5. Plus, I had also had a story that was put on a community affairs talk show. And there was this one woman, she was African-American. I'll never forget her. Everybody was scared to death of her. And I said, I'm really, really interested in putting one of my stories on your show. Lamont and I went out and shot it in the middle of the night. And she's like, okay. And so I left it with her. And then, Lamont Collins, the photographer, he called me. He said, Tina, she put it on. I said, she did what? She put it on. And do you know that she was one of the nicest people to me after I left and finished my internship. She gave me a lovely gift with a nice, she wrote a very nice note inside the book. And when I was back to school, she recommended me for a job in Lexington, Kentucky to her former news director. And so it goes. And then her former news director offered me a job, which I wasn't able to take because I didn't want to graduate from UK. I wanted to graduate from Indiana University, and I was 1 semester away. And so he said, well, you can do that semester here and work. And I said, you know what, maybe I'll go back after, maybe if you have something after I graduate, but I really want to get my degree from Indiana University because I've spent this much time and money and everything else. I just want to finish here. He said, okay, I get that. And so we had a really nice relationship and conversed back and forth. So lo and behold, that year, my senior year, spring break, my girlfriends and I all decided we were going to go down to Atlanta to visit some other friends of ours who had already graduated. And our parents went bonkers because this was during the era of Wayne Williams and the child murders, and he was still, it was still on the loose. And like, oh, you're going to Atlanta? No, we're just going to go visit some friends and have some. So along the way, I say that because along the way, what I did was I dropped off a tape at every station along the way, along the highway. If there was a TV station in that town, I'd drop off a tape that I had made as a result of my internship, my demo tape, they called it. So got back, went back to, graduated, finished up, and didn't have anything after school, nothing, no bites, but I was still, communicating and stuff. And by the end of the summer, I got a call from one of the stations in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is one of the last major cities on the way to Atlanta. And they hired me. And that was my first full-time job. My internship was, it was a paid internship, so I guess it was full-time, but my first full-time in broadcasting. And I worked there for a couple of years. I did everything from reporting, and we did live reports. I did anchoring and all kinds of stuff. So one day I was there and I got a phone call from Indianapolis, and it was the news director at Wish TV. And he said that a good friend of his from Lexington said, check her out. We had a good relationship. We weren't able to make it work, but she's in Tennessee. You might want to. So you see it's just one thing after another. And it all goes back to Loretta Harris was the person that I was just, everybody was intimidated by. But had not Loretta Harris taken an interest in me and during the internship, let us work on her show, let Lamont and I work on her show, and then even tell her former boss about me so that he offered me a job, even though I couldn't work the job. We had a good enough relationship that he told his good buddy, Lee Giles, in Indianapolis at Wish TV, if you're looking for somebody, the one for one, I know that's what they would say. They didn't say that to me, but it was one for one. If you're looking for somebody, check her out. She's from Indiana. So my eyes, again, were set on Dallas or Atlanta. No way, shape, or form was Indianapolis anywhere near my goal. I wanted to be either in Dallas, Texas, or Atlanta, Georgia. And so I did come to Indianapolis, and I stayed at Wish TV for a number of years, but I never had the same job. My first job was as a reporter at Wish TV. Second job at Wish TV was weekend anchor. Third job at Wish TV was weekday anchor, and my fourth job, which probably it was one of the most different and fun jobs I had, was community affairs director at Wish TV. I was in management at Wish TV, and so even though I stayed over 25 years, I had 4 different jobs. None of them were the same. I had 4 different jobs and was able to go through the ranks there. And so that's basically, in a nutshell, a long way around, answering the question. But a lot of times it's television and media and all kinds of things. Everything, every industry is maintaining good, and some knocks at your door. You have to be prepared. You can't just stand there flat-footed. And I've always said that broadcasting, especially television, probably radio too, that if you don't know how to hit the ground running the day that you don't ever trust that we're going to let you sit here for a week and we're going to train you or whatever. No, if you're needed right then and there, you got to be able to hit the ground running. And I always had that ability as well. But television has been wonderful. It's been absolutely wonderful. I loved it. Got to meet so many people, go so many places, do so many things, and so that's how I got there.
Well, I'm certainly glad that you did, because of the impact that I know that you've had in Indianapolis. One of the comments that's on here, Melanie says it's always about one connection away. It's always just one connection away. And then Honeybee says building positive relationships is key. I don't think that people really realize that it's about the impression that you leave. It's one thing when people talk about you when you're in their presence, but it's more about what they talk about you when you're not. That impression that you left with them to be able to put themselves in a position to where they would recommend you for something else. I think a lot of times I've got a 24-year-old son, and
Me too. Mine's 25. Okay, go ahead. Had to think. Yeah, he'd soon be 26, but go ahead. Yeah.
one of the things that I've learned about him and his generation is that they don't always have that mindset, that making those positive impressions and those connections, they don't have that mindset. It's about doing what they want to do when they want to do it and then continuing to move forward. Whereas I was always taught that you leave good impression. That first impression you always want to make is a good one, so that if you ever have to go back that way again, you haven't burned the bridge. And
you have no idea how many times I have preached that to both of mine, and it seems to be a difficult concept for that generation to grasp, because my daughter's 23 and my son's 25. And I've had this conversation with my son several times. It's like, if you're leaving a job, make sure you leave it, on a good note, and make sure that he said, well, why, blah, blah, blah. I said, even if you didn't like him, even if you didn't like your manager or your supervisor, leave letting them think that you like them or what have you, because you never know if they're going to have to reach back or what have you. And he just kind of like, okay. But and sometimes experience is the best teacher for that too. I mean, you've sown the seed, you planted the seeds, and I too have planted the seed, and hopefully it'll take root at some point in time. But I think that there are other their peers, the culture that that they've come up in, and a lot of things we're competing with that as well. So what we're saying, what you were saying to your son and what I say to my two, what we say has a lot of competition, not exactly that at all. They look at that as old school or old time. Why we got to be so we don't have to do that. The art of fine conversation. Everything is not always this blah blah blah. The art of socializing. We went out to dinner one time, and we were at I deliberately picked, well, they love to go there anyway, Benihana, because you have to interact. You can't sit there, you have to interact, because there's 1, 2, 6, 8 people at a table, and you're all connecting, whatever. And one time I just looked and I said, just for now, put it down. There's nothing, so the immediacy of the text and all there's just so many different things that are hard to instill and get in there. But we keep trying. I definitely keep trying. So, the connection, the point that I was making with my son is another one that I just made here. I never accepted that man's job. In fact, he offered it. He hired me, and I never was able to accept it. But for whatever reason, he was nice enough to say to his friend, give her a shot. We weren't able to work it out, but maybe you all can. And I think that, see what I'm saying? So it's frustrating when you don't see the light go off. And then some kids get, some young people do get it. Some get it sooner than others, and some get it better than others. But we gotta hope. We gotta keep that in prayer and hope that comes through, because I think that's a very important part of their development. Yeah,
I think too.
Absolutely.
In the conversations that you have on Community Connection, and the individuals that you get an opportunity to talk to, what is the one thing that you always want them to leave with from having that experience with you? Say that again.
Do you mean the listener or the guest?
I mean the guest.
Well, my guests are generally people who we, as a show, have to depend on as resources. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying? So, I'm more focused on getting that resourced information to our listeners and to our guests. So, I guess if there's one thing I hope that they leave with, I hope that somebody every day finds out something that can help them or something that they can learn when they listen to the show. As far as my guests are concerned, I hope that they feel as if they've been treated, that they that they were comfortable, being on the show. I guess I don't know that I want them to take anything away from me, because again, I'm getting from them. It's yeah. So they're everybody that's on the show is bringing something to us that the community should hear about, or needs to know about.
Okay. So if you ever had the opportunity.
I haven't had too many people that didn't want to disagree. Yeah. Okay, you're buffering a bit there. Okay, go ahead. If I ever had the opportunity.
If you ever had the opportunity to have your dream job, just the dream job ever in life, what would that dream job be?
Dream job? Can I get back with you on that one? Because in so many ways, I've had so many dream jobs. And like I said, I've always dreamed of working in radio, and I'm doing that now. I guess maybe a dream would be community connection. A lot of people, we're syndicated now, as I was saying, AM 1310. So we're on AM and 2 FM stations, and then we're also on the go on the app, and you can listen online as well. So I guess the dream would be to broaden our reach and be, more syndicated. That would be a dream job if we could put Indianapolis on the map with the nationally syndicated talk show. I guess would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be good.
So if you had the opportunity to talk to other young up and coming
really individuals. Nice, yeah. I mean, we're getting there. I mean, like I said, there's so many ways to hear us now. Again, you're cutting out, but I think your question is if I had the opportunity to talk to other young and up and coming individuals about what?
About going into media.
Broadcasting or a career in broadcasting?
Yes.
It would depend on, going into media. Media is so diverse now. Whether going to print media, broadcast media, online media, there's so many different ways. But the main thing is that you have to understand the sacrifices that you've got to make early. And some of those are a lot of personal sacrifices. And if you go into it with the mentality of what time do I get off from work, it's not for you. Because there is no getting off from work in broadcasting. So just know, the biggest thing I would say is to know yourself. If you're romanticizing and fantasizing about something that it's not, you're not going to last very long. But if you know yourself and you have the staying power and the ability to hang in there when it gets real rough, a lot of anything. I could never be a mortician. Just couldn't. Nor could I be a brain surgeon or what have you. But it just so happens that quite by accident, I fell into something that happened to marry my love of writing with my competitiveness in terms of putting that writing to a story with pictures and being able to tell a story with pictures. And actually in television, you have to let the pictures take the lead more so than the writing. So I constantly, the photographers would always tell me, don't mess it up with a bunch of words either, Tina. Don't mess it up. Don't mess up my stuff. And I'm like, okay, because they were saying, let it breathe, let it read, but they say that to all reporters. They want all of their shots to get in, and they're pretty creative things to make it on air as well. But if you have a competitive nature, and I do, that's fine. But just know that it's not always going to be the way it looks on TV. A lot of people don't understand. and I'm going to talk about television because, again, radio is new to me and I'm still learning it, but in radio to a large extent as well. But people think that you sit down and you go on TV, or you stand out in the field and you go on, and that's it. That is the least of what you do. The majority of your day is spent researching, interviewing, producing, and then writing, and then editing, and all those other things. And then when those are all put together and those are all done and everybody's got everything that they need from you, then you go on and you present what you've done. Not really fully aware of all the work it takes behind the scenes to get in front of the camera. Being in front of the camera was not where I got the most. I mean, it was fine and it was part of what we had to do, but I was more challenged with possibly getting the better interview, getting more information, getting on, maybe first before somebody else did, and getting a very meaningful piece of work out there than I was, hey, I'm on TV tonight, I'm on TV tonight. TV is what you have to do when you're working in TV, of course, but it's not the only thing you do. It's less than 10% of your day. It's the final thing that you do before. It's kind of like the final thing you do before you walk out the door, if you want to look at it that way. Before you walk out the door, you go look around, double check, and say, oh, let me finish this, and then I'm going home for the day. Unless you're on a breaking story or developing story, and then you're out all night and all day and do a lot of different things. But for the most part, yeah. So I guess to encapsulate it, know yourself. Don't go in with unrealistic expectations, and be prepared to make some sacrifices and be prepared to do the work. And if you can do all of that, I think you'll have a very successful career. Got to stay with it.
My son, when he was in high school, he went to Warren Township. He went to Warren High School, Warren Township High School, and he was in the media, the broadcasting part of the school, to where he kind of ran the camera. He learned the behind the scenes stuff. And his senior year of high school, they gave him, they did a story on him, to where he was in the school newspaper and all of that. And so he even continued that over at Ball State. So he went to Ball State afterwards, and he stayed with that. And so his dream, he says, when he retires from corporate America, his dream is that he's going to have his own station.
That is brilliant.
Knock yourself out.
That is brilliant. And there are so many more aspects to television and broadcasting than just being on TV. Where he's talking about is the power structure. And Dewan McCoy, who bought Wish TV and MyINDY-TV, and had a number of other smaller stations throughout the country, in Texas and some other places. But anyway, that's where the power, sales, there's all kinds of different areas you can go into. Your son is on the right track. Ownership and behind the, yes, good thing. And I know under the tutelage of Dennis Jarrett, Dennis and I were at IU together. We went to school together at Bloomington. And we also worked together when he used to be a photographer at RTV6. And then Dennis also worked at Wish TV for a little while. So we worked together and we went to school together and we worked together. And Dennis is an excellent instructor. And I'm so glad he is over there, because those kids out there in Warren have no idea how fortunate they are to have Dennis Jarrett leading that department. But yeah, and I think Dennis expands their horizons as well and forces them to look outside the bag. So your son is spot on. He's right on it. Sounds good.
One of the things that he had shared, because he wasn't going to tell us about the article that they did in the school newspaper, because he's one of those people that he's really good about being behind the scenes. He don't want to be in front of the camera. Just let me stay behind the camera and I can do what I do. And nobody's looking at me, judging me or nothing. Yeah. And so we, of course, proud mother, we're all excited. You're in your senior year, you get this article. But what got me is he continued that at Ball State. So the impression that was made at Warren gave him enough that he decided that he wanted to get a degree in it. And his experience at Ball State, because the his instructor there at Warren really helped him see some things. It wasn't just about being behind the camera, but understanding what the whole process looked like. And even when he went to Ball State, the people that he interacted with, because he was in that program, they even won an Emmy for one of their broadcasts that they had done at Ball State. And so it opened him up to be able to see some things that he otherwise would not have been able to participate in nor see. And so I'm grateful.
I know you are. How fortunate was he? And like I said, a lot of kids don't get that. They, may never have that type of experience. And I would dare say that the fact that he even went to Ball State was a result of his relationship and his learning at Warren, because Dennis would probably direct his students to one of two places, Indiana University for journalism, print journalism, or Ball State for broadcast journalism, because those are the two best here in the state of Indiana if they wanted to stay in the state of Indiana. So I would dare say that he has gotten excellent guidance and excellent education, excellent exposure. And that's what it's all about. I mean, there's two people here in the city. I'm trying to think. He's there's another gentleman, Dennis Goins, and he and I worked together for a number of years at Wish TV. And Dennis does the same thing that Dennis Goins, and we nickname Mr. Jarrett. Dennis does the same thing as Mr. Jarrett did, but Dennis is at Ben Davis, and he has done a similar job with what Mr. Jarrett did at Warren, and those two programs just out. They're the two of the best in the city, in Marion County. They're definitely hands down the best. And it's not characters. I know they're not right, and so kudos to them. And that you don't know how many students that Dennis have sent along their way who have been so successful, and that's just rewarding. I just love it. I love hearing that. I love hearing your son's story. Okay,
we lost her. Okay,
you got me back. That's what I'm saying is buffering a little bit. So
yeah, I noticed that, and I was trying to figure out how we were going to get around that, but sometimes look, IT works. When it works, and when it don't, it don't.
It don't. I know. I had to cancel my show today because they simply could not get it to work, and because of COVID, there's certain things that weren't available to fix it, and wouldn't be available until in the morning. So I just had to cancel an entire show today. Technology had its way today, and I'm like, well, nothing we can do except roll with the punches and try it again the next day. So we're gonna try it again tomorrow. But I certainly understand that.
So one of the things that I think is important for our audience to really get to understand and begin to see you is that even though you are the radio personality now, and that you have also done TV, news, and broadcast in that regard, that you are just an everyday woman who has children, that lives her life just like everybody else does. So what are some of the things that in your downtime, when you get to do things that you like, what are some of the things that you like to do that puts a smile on your face?
The time, and they're starting to give me. In fact, I had to do this for the Moselle Sanders Radiothon. But I love to play golf. I love golfing, and I like to cook and entertain. And I just like, just being around family. I love cooking. Cooking to me is, you remember those old commercials, Calgon, take me away, where you just disappear into all of it. That's how cooking is for me. I mean, I've been known to just spend a whole day from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, just trying different things and cooking, and I haven't even realized that time has passed, but it's relaxation. Now, my sister, she says it's stressful to her. She would rather clean and do whatever. And I said, cleaning is stressful to me. I mean, I have to do it, and I do it, but cooking is relaxing. And it's the same thing with golf. I picked it up again later within the last 5 or 6 years. I played for a while, but then, with kids came along, and then school and work and trying to balance it all. And I just didn't have, you know what? I take that back. I didn't make time for myself enough. Like and now I'm starting to learn. I'm starting to do a lot better at making time for myself. But those are probably the 2 or 3 biggest things. I mean, enjoy entertaining, love having my family over, or being around family, having family events. We have even family Zoom meetings. I like putting things together and organizing stuff. So that would be the 2 biggies would be cooking and golf, cooking/entertaining and golf. And the last 2 days, Michelle, have been great. And I haven't had a chance to get out on the golf course yet. And I need to. It's one of the better things that you can do with COVID.
Well, that's one of the things I never learned how to do. I never learned how to golf. Yeah, never learned golf. My nephew, he goes out there and he'll have him a cigar while he is smoking his cigar and he's playing golf. And he says the same thing. He loves it. It's very relaxing to him. He says when he has frustrations, he can go and hit that ball and give it a purpose. He gives it a purpose. Your purpose is to get into that hole over there. And so he has something to be able to give his attention to. So I've heard a lot of people.
Golf is a tale of.
I have a lot of friends that are out there on the golf field, on the golf mounds and clubs and participating. I've seen more women now than I ever have.
Yeah, I joined a ladies' league late last summer. I joined a ladies' league, and we play at Douglas on Sundays, once a week on Sundays. But golf is a tale of 2 cities. I don't know. I'm getting back to these commercials again. But it is one of the most relaxing, exhilarating things you can do. And it is also one of the most frustrating things that you can do. Because one day you're out there and you can't miss. The next day you're out there and you couldn't throw it in the ocean if you tried. And it just goes up. But there's a commercial that encapsulates golf to me. And I just loved it. I still love it. And it's the commercial for, I think, a car. But anyway, there's a bunch of guys and they're coming off the golf course. And they're all getting ready to get in this one car. And the driver, he throws his golf clubs into the trunk, slams the trunk down. Everybody gets in and they're looking around and he's hitting the steering wheel and, just venting and blowing off steam. And so everybody's looking at each other like, what should we say? And then so somebody said, same time tomorrow. And he turns around, he says, yeah, same time tomorrow. That's the insanity of golf because it can make you so crazy. And I have had days just like that commercial, and I was like, no, I'm going back tomorrow and I'm gonna get this back. Again, it's the competitive nature. It's like, I've got to get it. I know I can hit it this way and I know I can do that. So I that is it's so funny. And I said, boy, if that's not me, I don't know who it is. And everybody else that I know that plays golf, because it's just like that. You just have days, but something about being out there in the wide open and the green space and the calm and the quiet that's it's just hard to beat. So enjoyable. Yeah. So what do you like to do?
Me, myself, I'm a writer. So my relaxation is writing. Whether I'm journaling, whether I'm creating content, whether I'm writing books, that's my outlet. I get all of my feelings, my emotions, the things I'm going through, all of that I get on the pages. And for me, I really believe that whatever it is that we use as our self-care tool, what it does is it allows us to get out those things that create dis-ease in our bodies and in our hearts and in our minds. And once they show up to the light of day, of course, they lose their power. But now you've opened yourself up to receive whatever more is meant to come in. Yeah. And so I write.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. And I can certainly see that release. That makes sense. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Yep, it does.
It drives my family crazy because they'll be like, what are you doing? I'm writing. Again? Yes, again. Well, do you do anything else besides write? Of course I do other stuff.
Yeah, because that's what I do.
But if
Yeah.
if you don't
Well,
have
we
a
all
love
do
for
other stuff
writing,
besides that. Yeah.
exactly. But I think with them, when they're trying to interact with me, is in those moments when I'm trying to do some downtime and get some things out of my head and heart, so that I'm not carrying it with me wherever else I end up going. And so
Okay.
I don't think, if you're not truly a writer, you don't totally understand the release that happens when you write.
Yeah, that's true. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, but you can apply that to a lot of other things that, like you say, that help you release. Writing is yours. Yeah, and to a large extent, I guess writing is mine too. I probably should do more recreational writing. I do so much writing for work that I don't really get to do. Uh, uh, Writing for fun. I should more, because I certainly have a book. It's there's an old saying, we all.
Yeah, it's doing it again.
There?
Yeah, I'm here. So I think
That's
one of the
buffering
things that,
again.
yeah, I just it's
But
doing the
yeah,
thing.
the other thing I like to do is travel. I like is doing its thing. Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
like to travel too.
Has it stabilized?
It's trying.
Hello?
Now it seems to be
Can you
getting
hear
a
me?
little bit worse here. Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So it's doing
Yeah, I can hear and see you right now just fine. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
The little
traveling
gremlins,
is
I call them
good.
the gremlins that like to get in. Yeah,
You know
traveling is
what?
the
I
other
feel
thing.
the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, the same thing. Traveling is great. Yeah. So if they, but now that the restrictions are there, so, but we will in due time. We'll all get back to it. We will, indeed, indeed.
Well,
Okay.
Tina, thank you so very much for coming on to the show today. I really appreciate you sharing yourself with our audience and giving them a chance to get to know you a little bit better, because sometimes we hear the voice, sometimes we see the face, but it's always nice to be able to see that we're relatable, that we can reach out and touch you, and that you are a real person.
Well, thank you. And you know what? I'm going to have to return the favor and invite you on my show one day soon. After this book gets going, I want to, talk to Danola and bring in some more folks that she's published. Maybe we can do a collective show like that. That would be great. Your book sounds deep. Yeah, that would be good. So let's plan on it.
Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. So I look forward to planning that out a little bit more.
Okay, not a problem. Just let me know. You have my info, and we can make it happen. So, but I can't thank you enough for inviting me. Like I said, it's a little different being on the other side, but hopefully somebody has been entertained and maybe even helped by something that I've said, or maybe something I've done that I said I did. So we can only hope. So, and technology will not be interrupting us forever.
Yeah,
indeed. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So everybody, this is your girl Michelle with Tina Cosby. Because this is Girls Talk Real Talk, because when girls talk, just about anything can happen. So you guys have a fantastic evening, and we will see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.